Wow, game 2 of the World Series. Talk about an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers take it 4-2 against the Yankees.
Right?
Puts them up 2-0 in the series, but man, everybody is kind of holding their breath right now.
It's tough to celebrate when the big story, like the real big story coming out of that game is
Ohtani?
Shohei Ohtani leaving, with that left shoulder injury.
In the seventh.
In the 7th. And we're not talking about just any player. Right?
No, we were watching history, like literally being made this season. 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases. Like, that's insane. He was on track for a third MVP, and then boom, this subluxation thing throws everything up in the air.
Yeah, can we just break down that subluxation word for a second? Because that sounds scary, right?
Yeah.
Partial dislocation of the shoulder. That's gotta be, terrifying.
Yeah.
And then you gotta think about the mechanics of it too, right? Like, how did this even happen?
Totally.
He overran the bag at second. Arm got twisted behind him. That's what we're hearing, at least.
Right.
And what's even crazier? Stolen bases have been, super rare for him in the postseason. He's only even tried twice. I mean, why even risk it? Dodgers are already up by 2 runs. It's like, were the baseball gods just messing with us?
It does make you wonder, doesn't it? So now we wait for the MRI results. In the meantime, you've got Dave Roberts.
Dodgers manager.
Yeah, Dodgers manager. He's trying to be all optimistic.
Yeah.
Saying Ohtani had good strength, good range of motion after the game.
Yeah.
But then he does the classic coach thing. Won't even speculate on whether Ohtani will be missing any games.
Oh, yeah. Keep him guessing. But the Dodgers clubhouse is like a pressure cooker right now. That article we've got, it quotes Tommy Edman saying Ohtani is, and I quote, the best player in the game. Like, no duh, Tommy. But you can just hear it in his voice, the worry.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not just Edman, right? Teoscar Hernandez, he's been battling his own injuries this season. He says the Dodgers have got to keep doing what they're doing, even if Ohtani can't play.
Right.
But there's that underlying, oh, crap, you can hear it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's that mix, right? Of we believe, but oh, crap, what if he can't play?
Yeah, totally. You know what I found super interesting? Apparently, there's a microphone, right by second base.
Oh, wow.
And it picked up Ohtani saying, I don't know, in Japanese, when the trainer was asking him if his shoulder was dislocated. Think about that. Adrenaline's pumping, he's probably in a ton of pain, and he's downplaying it.
That is fascinating.
Yeah.
That's got to give us some insight into Ohtani's mindset. I mean, here's a guy who plays with insane intensity.
Yeah.
Pushing the limits of what we thought was even possible in baseball.
Totally.
It also makes you think about the whole cultural thing, too. Like the stoicism we see in a lot of Japanese athletes.
Right.
Could that be playing a role in how he responds to pain, to injury?
That's a really good point. We're always hearing those stories about athletes playing through crazy pain. But with Ohtani, it adds this whole other dimension to it, right? It's not just the Yankees he's battling. It's the expectations, cultural norms, maybe even his own body at this point.
It makes you ask the question, does that warrior mentality, that need to just push through everything, does it come at a cost? We all know Ohtani wants to be out there, wants to give it his all, always.
Totally.
But what about the long-term effects? I mean, if he's downplaying pain, masking it even, what does that mean down the road?
Okay, so let's play out the worst-case scenario for a second. Ohtani's out for a while. What happens to the Dodgers offense?
Well, I think offensively, they're probably going to move Freddie Freeman to DH.
Makes sense.
Just to be clear, for anyone who, isn't super familiar with baseball, being the designated hitter, it means Freeman focuses on hitting, no fielding.
Right.
And he's a former MVP himself, so he can definitely handle the pressure.
Oh, yeah. But that leaves a hole at first base. Right. And the article throws out a name, Andy Pages.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of casual fans are going to be like, woo!
Right. So Pages, he's this 22-year-old Cuban outfielder, crushing it in the minors.
So, wow.
Think raw power, tons of potential, but also not a lot of experience at this level.
Okay.
Throwing him into the World Series would be a huge gamble for the Dodgers.
It's like saying, hey, rookie, welcome to the big leagues. Oh, and by the way, the entire World Series kind of rests on your shoulders. No pressure.
Right.
But that just shows you how vital Ohtani is to this team.
Absolutely. And this goes beyond just this season, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, this injury, it could have these ripple effects on his future.
Yep.
The Dodgers' plans.
Right.
Even how we think about player safety, what we expect from these, elite athletes.
This is way more than just a shoulder injury.
Oh, yeah.
So we're left here wondering about Ohtani's recovery, what the Dodgers are going to do next, and of course, the big one. What happens to the MVP race now?
Right.
We're going to dive into all that in our next segment.
It's crazy, isn't it? Like how one play, one injury can just totally change the whole story.
It really is.
We were celebrating a Dodgers win, and now we're like dissecting medical terms, thinking about how fragile these athletes really are.
It is a bit of a reality check, isn't it? Like, yeah, we get caught up in the wins and losses, but it's easy to forget that we're invested in these players.
Right.
Their stories, all the drama, on and off the field.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Speaking of drama, I keep going back to Ohtani's reaction after that injury.
Oh, yeah.
Remember he said, "I don't know" in Japanese?
Yeah.
When the trainer asked him about the dislocation?
Oh, yeah.
Such a small detail.
I know. So much meaning there.
It's like in that moment, total chaos.
Right.
His instinct was to downplay it. Like he was trying to convince everyone.
Right. Himself, even.
That it wasn't serious.
Yeah. And that's where the whole cultural thing comes in, right? Like, we've all heard about how Japanese athletes are, how stoic they can be.
Yeah.
That ability to just, endure pain.
Right. Yeah.
Hardship without showing emotion.
Right. It's almost like a virtue. Yeah. I read an article about how, in Japanese baseball, players are basically taught to just suppress their pain.
Wow.
Put the team above all else,
That's interesting. So when we see Ohtani's reaction, it's not just him, it's years of this conditioning.
Yeah, this mindset of resilience, putting everyone else first.
It's kind of intense when you think about it. The pressure these guys are under. I mean, Ohtani's carrying a whole nation's hopes.
Right.
The Dodgers.
And his own expectations.
Right. He wants to be the best. So, yeah, of course, he doesn't want to show any weakness.
Makes sense. But you got to wonder, right? This stoicism, this tough-it-out mentality, it's admirable, but is it a double-edged sword?
How so?
Well, could it lead to these guys downplaying injuries, pushing too hard, and ultimately risking more serious long-term problems?
That's a valid point. Makes you think that communication between players, coaches, and doctors, it's got to be so important.
Huge EE.
Finding that balance, right?
Yeah. Between respecting someone's mental toughness, but also taking care of their health.
Exactly. So, I guess shifting gears a bit.
Yeah.
Let's say Ohtani is out for a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
What are the Dodgers' options then?
Right. We were talking about Freddie Freeman moving to DH, which leaves first base open.
Right, and that's where Andy Pages comes in.
Yeah, this is where it gets interesting.
This kid, barely into his 20s.
Right.
And they might throw him into the World Series.
Talk about trial by fire.
Like a movie, right?
It is.
But okay, so who is Andy Pages, for people who don't know?
Tell me, I'm curious.
So picture this, 22 years old, born in Cuba.
Okay.
People are already noticing him. Because of his power, he can hit these monster home runs.
Right.
But he's still raw, still needs to work on some things.
Like what?
Like his plate discipline, his defense.
Okay.
So high risk, high reward for the Dodgers.
Yeah. If he can handle the pressure.
If he can.
And, perform like he does in the minors, that could change the game.
But what if he gets overwhelmed? What if he can't handle the elite pitching?
That's the gamble, right?
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, they might be willing to take that gamble if they think Ohtani's out for good.
Yeah, makes sense. They do have other options, though, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Don't forget about guys like Muncy, Chris Taylor.
Right.
They can play multiple positions.
The Dodgers have built a team with a lot of depth.
For sure.
They're versatile.
Yeah.
But replacing Ohtani, that's not easy.
It really isn't.
It's like he's this five-tool player,
right?
And they're trying to replace him with a Swiss Army knife.
That's a good analogy.
Lots of options, but you're still missing that one thing that makes him so special.
Exactly. Brings us back to that bigger conversation, right? About player safety, how the game is evolving.
Yeah.
Like, should we be rethinking how we use guys like Ohtani?
Interesting.
Who are so valuable on both sides, pitching and hitting?
It's a great debate. I mean, on one hand, you've got the old school fans, the traditionalists.
Right. They'll say baseball has always had two-way players.
It's part of the game's history.
Right. It's part of the appeal, even.
But then you've got the modern approach.
Yeah.
The analytics people, they say specialize, minimize the risk.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Guys like Ohtani, they're putting so much stress on their bodies.
Right.
They're just more likely to get hurt.
And the stakes are higher now, right?
Absolutely.
$1 billion contracts, that pressure to be the best all the time.
Yeah. Teams are making huge investments.
Right.
They want to protect those investments.
It's complicated, for sure.
It is.
No easy answer.
Nope.
And Ohtani's injury really brings that to the forefront.
It does. Even the most talented guys aren't invincible. We have to think about their long-term health.
Totally. So it's not just about culture.
Right.
It's about sports medicine, the way baseball itself is changing.
All because of one play.
It is wild.
It shows you sports are more than just entertainment, right?
What are they then?
They're like a mirror.
Sounds interesting.
Reflecting society, showing us our values, our anxieties.
I like
This whole question of risk versus reward, pushing boundaries.
And let's not forget, while all this is going on,
Right.
there's the MVP race.
Oh yeah, that's still up in the air.
Big time. We're going to talk about that
Looking
next.
forward to it.
I think it'll be interesting. Okay, so we've talked about the injury, what the Dodgers might do, Ohtani's reaction, the whole player safety thing. But let's be real.
Yeah.
The MVP race, that's the big one, right?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it?
Yeah,
Can a player who might miss the rest of the World Series
right.
still win MVP?
Yeah,
It's almost philosophical, you know?
it really is. And honestly, it just shows how amazing Ohtani has been this season that we're even having this conversation.
Oh, totally.
I mean, before this injury, he was a lock for MVP.
Right.
50 homers, 50 stolen bases.
It's unheard of.
We haven't seen this kind of two-way dominance, like, ever.
Yeah, those numbers are just insane. And it wasn't just the stats, you know?
No.
He was exciting to watch.
He was electric.
He changed the game. Remember the game against the Padres?
Oh, yeah.
His first ever playoff game.
Uh-huh.
3-run homer. The whole stadium was going crazy.
I was losing my mind. I mean, every time he came up to bat, you could feel the energy change.
Yeah, totally.
It was like this electric feeling.
So how do you measure that, right?
Yeah.
In a race where suddenly being available to play,
Uh-huh.
that's a huge factor.
Right. I mean, the argument for Ohtani is pretty clear, right? He carried the Dodgers
For most of the season.
and put up these historic numbers.
Yeah.
He was like the most fun player to watch in all of baseball.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Availability matters,
Okay.
especially in baseball.
Yeah.
It's a long season,
Right.
a marathon, not a sprint, as they say.
Totally.
The MVP should be the guy who's there
For the whole thing.
the whole journey, including the playoffs.
Okay, that's a good point. And there's the narrative too, right?
Like,
Before the injury, Ohtani's story, it was just like pure triumph.
yeah, this guy exceeding all expectations.
Redefining what's possible. And now it's all what if.
Exactly.
A season cut short. Kind of a sad ending,
It
mate.
is kind of like a Greek tragedy, isn't it?
Yeah.
His hero, he's on top of the world, and then bam,
Right.
fate steps in.
At the worst possible time.
That makes you think, maybe some voters will be swayed by that, you know?
Subconsciously, yeah.
Yeah, they might hold it against him, even though it's not his fault.
That's interesting. So if you had a vote, what would you do?
Man, that's tough.
Would you look at the whole season,
Yeah.
all those amazing stats, or would you say he's not playing now in the playoffs? That matters more.
It's really a toss-up. Like, logically,
Yeah.
Ohtani, the numbers, they're incredible.
Yeah.
But part of me thinks those voters, they're going to be influenced by the fact that he's not out there
Right.
right now fighting with his team.
It's human nature, I guess.
It is.
And it's not like there aren't other great players who could win, right?
Oh, for sure. Freddie Freeman's having an amazing season.
Yeah.
Mookie Betts is always up there.
This was already going to be a tight race.
Absolutely.
Now who knows? Stats, narrative, availability, impact on the team.
Yeah. It's all going to factor in.
It's almost like this injury makes us ask, like, what does it mean to be valuable in sports?
Right.
Is it just the numbers? Or is it something bigger?
That leadership, that heart.
Right, the ability to inspire.
Exactly.
And then there's the cultural side of it, too.
Oh, for sure.
Ohtani not wanting to show pain.
Yeah.
It makes us think about what we expect from these athletes.
Especially those from different cultures.
Right. Are we protecting them enough? Physically? Mentally?
Big questions.
Huge questions. It's bigger than just one player.
Dude,
Bigger than one injury, one award.
it's about how we see sports, you know?
Yeah, I like that. It's a mirror to society, right?
It's a good
Our
yeah.
values, our biases, how we think about like what it means to be human.
Well said.
And even if Ohtani doesn't win the MVP,
Yeah,
he's changed the game.
absolutely.
He showed everyone what's possible.
He's inspiring a whole new generation.
He's a game changer, plain and simple.
I agree.
This whole deep dive, it's been crazy.
It has.
Twists and turns, just like Ohtani's season.
For sure.
We've analyzed, speculated, debated.
We have.
The story's not over yet.
Right.
We're all waiting to see what happens next.
Right. Will he come back?
Will he win MVP anyway? Who knows?
Only time will tell.
And we'll be here to break it all down for you. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Keep those conversations going, debate those MVP candidates, and
Yeah.
keep thinking about what it all means, you know?
The bigger picture,